Now, with that match aside, let's get into what everyone has been waiting for and been looking forward to today. It's our match of the week. RNG are about to take on Rogue Warriors at RNG's home stadium in Beijing. Raz, since you just joined the desk, what do you want to touch on for this match?
Ooh, I'm going to touch on the fact that these are our Rift Rivals representatives coming back. Remember, working together in Rift Rivals, there were a lot of bonding as the sense that moving from Game 4 to Game 5, it was Rogue Warriors that handed the game, the series, to RNG. So it feels like you move towards one point in which they were working together, and now obviously there's the natural competition and they have to naturally work against each other.
I remember during Rift Rivals itself, Mouse was interviewed after the victory saying that before Rogue Warriors went into the match, RNG came up to Mouse and said, please win this game so that we can take it home at Game 5, which they did. Rogue Warriors picked up the Game 4 victory, RNG were able to hit it home at Game 5, brought back the trophy. Now, what were once friends at Rift Rivals are now going to be enemies in our match of the week.
And I do like this narrative, right? I do like the idea of frenemies coming onto the Rift for set number 3, but at the same time, Rift Rivals is long gone, so it's just enemies from now on. And of course, enemies with good taste for one another. But ultimately, it's not the full RNG that were at Rift Rivals as well, whilst it is the full Rogue Warriors, who I would say, in particular the bottom lane, the absolute queen of the bottom lane SMLZ, is in very good form still.
Yeah, he is. Rogue Warriors going to stick to the same 5-man roster that we've seen for multiple splits now. However, for the side of RNG, Uzi is not starting and has not been playing. He is nursing a shoulder injury, so we wish him the best of recovery there, but it's been reoccurring, wants to take time off, especially since we're moving later into the split. With that, it's not Abel who's been starting for most of the matches of RNG. It's been Tatai who's been starting in their games. And when he gets subbed out, it's not always able to get subbed in either. They have played with Casa and MLXG on the exact same roster in the same game as well.
And it just showcases the depth of this roster. In this specific game of MLXG and Carsa working in tandem with each other with their funneling composition, you saw, okay, wait a minute, Game 3, they can pull something like this out going up against top-tier competition of EDG, and you start to fear of the depth of this team, the 7-man roster, and how easily they can put them in the same game.
And that's the crazy thing, you just mentioned it. They were against EDG. This was meant to be a hectic match between them, and MLXG to come in a match like that is crazy. To consider that that is a real strategy from them. It wasn't, Game 1, test the waters, just dip your toe in and see if the strategy works. This was Game 3, hit it home.
Well, we've seen them play without Uzi for a couple of games now. RNG have dropped a match since Rift Rivals. Now, as I wanted to ask you, if they had Uzi, would they still only have dropped one game so far this split, or do you think they would have dropped that match regardless?
I think they wouldn't have, because remember, that was the match in which they were bringing in Abel as well, so there was a lot of they're trying to utilize the regular season to better prepare themselves for the playoffs. That being said, the stats that you see on your screen is when they're rolling up with Zatai most of the time, and they're proper statistics. The average win time is mostly because they're moving away from the 80 carry-centric bottom side of the map, which means that you have to elongate the game to the 30-40 minute mark and towards, without Uzi, bringing in more bruisers, more mages. I thought the set versus EDG was a great example of that because they just ripped them apart the moment they actually grouped together in team fights.
Yeah, I mean, the big context there as well is that with bruisers, once you get a Baron, it's easier to dive. Whereas with an AD carry, once you get the Baron, you're looking to take the turrets down and threaten the dive instead. So for the side of RNG, they've been giving a lot of priority to someone like Zatai when he comes in. The Darius is the big one that comes to mind for me. And he has just been cutting down everyone that he goes against when he gets that pick. I would be surprised to see it given to him again today.
But their gold difference at 15 has dropped dramatically. They used to be about 1,700 gold ahead at 15 minutes. But now, without Uzi, it's dropped down to -50, which is not much for a negative. And we'll talk about that a little bit later because we're going to look at the lineups for RNG. Let me, MLXG, Xiaohu, Tatai, as well as Ming. This will be their starting 5.
Yeah, starting with Zatai, ordinarily coming into the mid lane with the Darius, but after getting punished in the recent sets, have been putting Xiaohu back in the mid lane so they can have MLXG and Xiaohu getting that mid lane control.
Yeah, Xiaohu keeping that diversity, of course. And looking at their opponents in this game, Rogue Warriors, Mouse in the top lane, Flawless in the jungle, Doinb mid, SMLZ and Kahlua rounding out the bottom.
And this is a roster that will not change. This is the starting 5, and their bench is non-existent, which is a great contrast to have between both teams. A depth roster of RNG that they can just field a completely different team, a completely different lineup, and showcase that they can actually funnel with the junglers, with Graves being played, of course, in the mid lane. Or they can just move towards the mages. So I felt like with RNG, if in a longer series, it's so hard to play up against them and actually plan for them. With this side of Rogue
Yeah.
Warriors is incredibly easy because you know the DoMB style and you know SMLZ style. They ain't going to change.
I think the contrast between them both for RNG is that you know what's happening if MLXG comes in, right?
Yes.
Whereas with Rogue Warriors, you know what their style will be, but you have no idea what the champions or the picks will be.
Well, with that aside, we've talked about RNG. We know they're changing the roster. Rogue Warriors coming in. You know, they themselves have dropped matches recently. Didn't have the best performances during Rift Rivals group stage, but performed well during the actual playoffs itself. Now it comes down to who is going to win this match. Gentlemen, I want your predictions for this match between Rogue Warriors as well as RNG.
All right, so I know what most people would be predicting coming into this one. I thought I'd throw a spanner in the works. Uzi's still missing, so I am going to go with Rogue Warriors. And I just, in my mind, you know, I know that RNG should come in favorites, but I have unfounded faith in SMLZ. That man is just playing out of his mind even in defeats, and I have a feeling that without Uzi there on the opposing side, we'll see Kahlua and SMLZ have a big game, and I think they'll get the same.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and go with the obvious one. RNG, I had my reservations with this team, but ultimately, they've been showing great games with or without Uzi.
Hang on.
In fact, they've been having faster ones with Zatai. So I ain't saying that they're better now without Uzi. I'm just saying that they are so much stronger than Rogue Warriors currently. That team needs some time to work.
Didn't you say against EDG that it was EDG that were going to pick up the victory? Now with the same logic, RNG going to pick up the victory?
Time changes everything, and when you start rolling with different rosters and playing that hard, okay, I'm going to change my opinions. That's what just happens.
All
Time
right.
heals all wounds as well.
Well, normally when we have our match of the week, we have a furry friend that would help us predict. But for this week, it's empty. What's going on? Where's
All right.
our furry friend to predict match of the week?
Yeah, you're right. Unfortunately, we couldn't get a kitten. We couldn't get a dog. This time, we, the LPL broadcast,
Hang on.
we have ourselves a fish. So, Fisherman Williams, we're going to need you to give us a
I
prediction.
haven't opened. You didn't open them, so
I
I'm
didn't.
not really sure how I meant to execute this now.
I didn't know that
It
this was
doesn't
happening.
need to
Hide
be
that one.
opened. Okay, all right.
Oh, that's actually a really
That's
solid-
difficult.
That's hard work.
I got you.
All right.
All right, now pick. You gotta be resident animal of the
Wait,
LPL.
so I can't see.
No.
No,
Okay. What? I
go for it.
wasn't told this was happening.
Take
Eat the
the
damn
plunge.
shit.
All right. Which one did I predict? This is
The
this is-
losers, I believe.
No, he picked RNG.
RNG.
I've got you. I agree with you 100%. Throw that RNG on there. Thank you, Fish.
There you go. You can wash that down with a warhorse.
Spam your Doritos. Grab your warhorse. Let's go over to the casters for the first match of our match of the week.
Amazing. What's up, guys? My name is Pulse. I'm with Frusk for this cast. How you doing, Frusk?
I'm pretty excited. I'm actually really jealous that I don't have Doritos or a Warhorse. Shout
That's
out
true.
to Mercedes.
Yeah, when... Hit me with that L'Oreal sponsorship. All right, let's get into the game. RNG versus Rogue Warriors, game one. We've already gone through the bands. It's going to be Kled, Lulu, and Kindred. Now we're going to start off with a first pick, Darius Frusk.
And reminder to everyone, this is our match of the week, our top of the table clash. RNG versus Rogue Warriors. Recently, though, both these teams coming off of a loss, so hopefully they were just, you know, really digging deep, preparing for this series, and we're going to see them go all out.
Hopefully, on the opposite side, Rogue Warriors are going to take out the Talia, the Swain, and the Aatrox, first picking the Rakan and Nocturne.
And the one that jumps out to me, of course, is the fact that the Kindred was banned from the blue side, so it makes the Nocturne that much more viable as a pick. Oh, I was looking for the Swain pick. Sorry, I'm very quickly trying to find
Yeah, we
my
went there
bearings
fast. It's all right.
in this
It's all right. We
draft
can save a
phase.
bit of time. I can talk for a little bit too. RNG going to be picking up the Zoe here, as along with the Trundle. So expect that one to go into the jungle right here.
So pretty stock standard composition coming out of RNG so far. We've seen Xiaohu really popping off on the Zoe and even reaching for the champion when it didn't quite fit in towards what the composition they were trying to put together. I expect that's going to be Zatai's Darius. He's been the primary player for it. And even though Letme is currently sitting in the top lane position, most of the time we're seeing Letme actually rotating down towards top side and playing in that bot lane marksman role.
That's correct. I like the fashion choice there from Stake, utilizing the headset perfectly there. Ken will also be picked up by Rogue Warriors as the final pick on their first rotation here, and will take away the Shen.
And Kennen really just doesn't have a lot of counters right now from the top lane. He's very hard to deal with. I feel like you just kind of have to take the step back, play from the back foot, and maybe try to find something with a bit more utility in how you want to deal with him, unless you want to go super French pick and do try to find one of those counter picks that doesn't necessarily scale up as well or as versatile as Kennen, because he can do the AP, the AD, he can team fight, he can split push, he can do it all.
He can do it all. Call this guy Draven. He'll go into the top lane and do everything. On the opposite side, Xayah will be the ban from RNG as we look towards Rogue Warriors once again.
And what's interesting for me is that they prioritize the Kennen so highly over something like the Xayah. Now, Rogue Warriors haven't been one to funnel or gold funnel. It's just not quite taken off in the LPL to the same extent that we've seen it previously in the LCK. But again, just kind of speaking to the high priority and reputation that they're giving Kennen over something like the Xayah Rakan combo. I mean, you could still grab a... Oh, boy.
Oh. Yep.
You
Anyway,
know what? I support it.
We'll do, Frusk. We'll do. Rogue Warriors will pick up the Lucian. They also banned out the Alistar against Ming right here as well, one of the massive champions for Ming down there in the bottom lane. And a talent ban towards Doinby. Doinby has been picking that one up quite a lot recently. Just doesn't really want to deal with that.
I have a lot of concerns right now as we're seeing all these champions come out. Where is Rogue Warriors' tank line? Look at how soft and squishy they all are, and then look at all the bruisers that RNG are stacking onto this composition.
Well, that's
oh,
the
no,
thing.
it got worse!
Oh no, and there's a Mordekaiser. Well, let's go over to Rogue Warriors for a second because you're talking about the lack of a tank right here. Well, they locked in the Kenner. Holy moly, Beijing is popping off today. Usually Mouse would have a tank in the top side. He's known for picking up like the Mundo, for example, or these massive tanks. Mundo was open this game, but they've moved towards a Kennen. Now, Kennen could flex to a different role, but Mouse historically has only been playing the tanks.
Yeah, and I was actually just going to point that out. I think we might see the Kennen flicks, and it would mean that it would have to go into the mid lane. But the thing is Doinby playing mid, so I just don't know what to believe anymore. But Rogue Warriors will have to show their hand. Now it's going to be Doinby's rise. That's Kennen top.
20 seconds left though, so on the opposite side we do have a Braum confirmed, and we also have a Mordekaiser as well. Now, old Mordekaiser, he's not had a great time in the LPL. He's currently got a 25% win rate, 1 out of 4 games so far. This will be his 5th game, so best of luck RNG. Let's see if we can improve those stats.
To be fair, Mordekaiser was played by a lot of the bottom tier teams or teams that really struggled early on, so I don't think it's quite indicative of how the Mordekaiser potential that we can see, but now you can see that both of these compositions have been done, and my complaint still exists for Rogue Warriors. That is a very squishy composition. Now, the windows that they have, for me, it looks at getting Flawless A to level 6. We've also had a hard time making the Nocturnes really work, and such a ballsy move to pick Nocturne into MLXG. Probably the only jungler that has been successful with Nocturne in the LPL.
Very true. As the coaches come back onto stage, shake hands, and walk off the stage. Side by side, we're not even going to go on different sides, we're just going to walk off stage left. It's all going to be good. But no, if you guys are just watching RNG for the first time recently, they have been changing things up with their roster. Now Uzi isn't going to be with them in the bottom side of the map, so we're going to have 2 top laners. Now it's a tiny bit of a hybrid. You know, he used to play mid lane, now he's top lane, now he's playing mid lane, now he's playing bot lane, but will probably be top lane in this game. So there's a lot of different things that RNG are trying. On the opposite side, Rogue Warriors looks like they looked at RNG and said, same.
I mean, the bang for your buck that you get out of Zatai and the fact that he can play pretty much every single role and almost has done so competitively over the course of his career, this is like the meta for him.
Yes.
Not only that, but he was also the guy that was well known for playing these fringe picks and just trying to almost use it as a gimmick, that because you didn't understand how a champion would work, that he could catch you from the back foot and punish you in lane.
I don't know if you saw that graphic that NA put out recently, but it was Huni in all 5 roles. That's basically our Zatai right here. Zatai can do it all, and he'll do it well as well. He's done in the lane, great in the team fights as well. The guy is very much a legacy player, but he still has a lot of bite to that bark. Now, on the opposite side, I'm going to be looking towards Rogue Warriors. Now, this is a Rogue Warriors without a tank at the top side. I don't know how to feel for us. Where's my Mouse Mundo?
I mean, to be fair, Mouse, before Edward Gaming jammed him into the cookie cutter tank build, was known for the Fizz and the Aurelia for the longest time, so it's not like he's a stranger to playing the carry role, and ultimately his identity and his responsibility is still going to be the same, or potentially could be, on the Kennen. I don't expect this to be a split pushing Kennen. We will keep our eyes on kind of what build path he goes to and what lane assignment he's going to take, but because it is Mouse, I expect it to be a big 5v5 brawling AP oriented Kennen.
That's the other thing. In the LPL, we've been picking up a lot of AP Kennen recently versus actually going for the attack speed Kennen build, even into matchups that it would be good into. Something like a Mundo, something like a tank on the top side, it's still looking towards the team fights. Now, that also goes back to the philosophy that we're looking towards, you know, a couple instrumental and huge team fights in the mid game, really to sell home what is going to happen in the game.
And that's where Rogue Warriors have really thrived. A lot of the times they don't exit lane phase very well, especially if you look at SMLZ's stats in particular. You know, his CSD, his EXP at 10 differences aren't necessarily the highest, and it's more so that once you exit lane phase, they're able to isolate him on the map, get him snowballed up, and it's really that mid-game team fights that Rogue Warriors start to take over games.
Well, folks, this is Royal's own home here in Beijing. And the Rogue is entering the palace. We'll see if they can assassinate the Monarch today, or whether they'll go home in a body bag. As I hand it over to Beijing.
$700 strong in the Beijing Palace there for the RNG home stadium, our second biggest of our 6 circuit arenas in the LPL.
I feel like we should just fully commit and just call it that. You know, we have Chongqing, the Snake Pit, of course, for Snake. Royal never go, but why not just call it the Palace?
I've already decided. It's the Beijing Palace.
All right, there we go. Sold.
Of course, we'll have 2 teams eventually in Beijing, as JD Gaming will be moving over there. And then we will have the great Beijing battles, which JD struck first.
They did indeed. They faced down RNG in their first game. And what happened? Well, they lost. RNG lost. JD have completed the curse, which is in your first game in every studio, you will lose.
Which means that they're the only team to take down RNG right now, so... excuse me, no, RNG were actually just upset the other day.
By
I
FBX.
misspoke.
We were casting that, Frosk.
I tried to wipe it from my
It's
memory.
fair. Double knockup coming in from Kaloa. SMLZ will get a nice punch there onto Ming as well. And remember, this is a Braum Mordekaiser bottom lane.
And surprise, surprise, Zatai isn't actually up into the top side. He is seated down into that bottom side. So again, we talked about his reputation. He literally plays everything, and he's going to be the guy that's piloting Mordekaiser. I did want to talk a little bit about the disrespect, though. Normally with the Mordekaiser melee support, you do the double relic shield, and then eventually you have enough sustain either through your heal that you get back, your shield that you can build up, as well as the double relic, that you're able to just out-sustain a lane. But the fact that they just face-checked into Rakan Lucian level 1, yeah, it makes sense that they lose level 2. I thought it was a little bit risky there, but not punished too heavily.
Now, the thing about this lane is because when you have double relic and also you have a Mordekaiser, you've actually got a surprising amount of sustain. Plus, you're going double resolve primary.
You are unmovable from this lane.
So it's like you can. It's fine to go down to half because you get healing from 2 and you can sustain. So it's just like, go on, hit me. I'm gonna get the health back anyway. I'd end up losing level 2, so whatever. But the theory was there.
But ultimately, it does mean that for now, Rogue Warriors, SMLZ, and Kahlua will have control of the lane until Mordekaiser gets more points. He's able to push up and feel safer to take some of these big trades, which then just opens up space for Flawless. So I really like the early ward from Zatai and Ming to just piece out of the lane and then place it on this blue buff to make sure that they catch Flawless's exact pathing. And now it's, what does the mad scientist of MLXG actually do with that information? Because in this composition, I think right now it's really all about the Trundle. You know that your bot lane is going to get pushed in early on because it's Braum Mordekaiser. You have priority in the mid lane because it's Zoe versus Ryze, especially once we took over to level 5. So it's really up to MLXG on this dueling Trundle to set the pace of this game. And he's got multiple gank options and access into the river.
Oh, he actually dodged that vision right there and goes immediately onto Flawless. Yeah, he's just being a little bit annoying. Now, the pillar, I believe, does exactly 1 true damage, so it's theoretically possible to steal with the pillar, but not going to happen. MLXG is going to be pushing into the mid lane, just going to be spotted out by this ward. Forward ward coming out from Doinby, so going to catch him moving towards top side. However, Rogue Warriors have completely cleared up the top jungle, so they will know he's going to top lane. Now, I need to see Mouse not keep on pushing.
Well, he definitely knows that MLXG is there.
Yes.
But he's not really reacting.
This is Earth to Mouse.
Hello, 911. I'd like to report a burglary.
He's starting to back away now. Yeah, he's aware of this. Walking forwards, comes in with the apprehend. MLXG is here. Looks to kite down bottom side. Instant reaction coming out from Flawless, but he is miles and leagues away from the top lane. That is first blood to Let Me.
Hello, 911. I'd like to report a murder. He walked through the ward in mid lane. Oh, boy. The jungle was empty, too. That's what kills me. Mouse is able to look at his own jungle, see that there's no camps left. Where's MLXG going to go?
Top lane to kill Mouse. That's what happened. First pick Darius, first blood of the game. Planned out coming out from RNG, but Let Me's going to be feeling very happy with this one. Kenny goes back towards the top lane, gets his first back. The amp term goes towards the boots, but now he's just behind the curve into a Darius lane where Kennans typically do pretty well.
Yeah, it's just going to feel really rough. And like you said, going for the amp tone and the boots there. So the only silver lining is the fact that Mouse was able to retain his flash. Though, hold on. I don't think they're going to get anything here, but seen crazier things happen. I do want to give credit to the great pillar usage, though. You could tell that Mouse wanted to go through the thick flash through the wall, and by placing the pillar and knocked it back, it meant that he kind of resigned himself to his own fate. He wasn't going to try to burn the flash, and secured the kill in that moment. So a well executed from MLXG and a great setup from Let Me to get the first instantaneous flash.
Oh, for sure. I mean, there's always signs of a melee character when you're playing into a ranged matchup in top lane when they're looking to aggress, because they'll push forward, they'll start to guard their back minions, or rather your back minions, and then look for the flash into the apprehend. That's exactly what Let Me did right there. Also notice that he's gone for the Mercury Treads first, which lets him walk exactly, run into the cannon, and does stuff like this, where you can walk towards him, and it's very little that Kennen can do other than use his passive defensively. Now, this just hurts if you're a Kennen lane, and level 6 goes over to Let Me first.
And level 6 is going to be so important for both these compositions because the Mordekaiser's already here. I like the attention that Rogue Warriors are giving to secure this bottom side river and make sure that they're getting the Scuttle Crab, because again, the level 6 Mordekaisers. We're going to go ahead, take another look at that one. Like you said, it's the fact that Mouse was trying to guard Darius away from the minions. Yep. Darius made use of the space, flashed forward, grabbed him. Mouse was going around trying to flash through.
Hello.
Oh, whoa.
Flawless on 6, looks for the paranoia. That's going to be a flash from Doinby. Jump over the wall into the blast cone. Bot lane is there to receive. Well played by RNG's bottom lane right there with the duo, but it's going to be a tag onto Flawless as Xiaohu is looking to set up the paddle star. Here it comes down onto 3. Not as much damage as I was expecting, or Rogue Warriors are expecting. They'll walk it off.
Just absolute chaos as we come out of that replay. Had to make sure they've got the crazy angles, but I'm not quite sure why Rogue Warriors decided to expend not just the flash, but also the Rise ultimate there.
There's a lot. Nice bit of tag damage moving back towards mid lane there from Doinby in tandem with Flawless gets to clear out the ward right there. But yeah, in the end, it will be RNG looking pretty good after that play. Bottom lane just had to move a couple centimeters from their lane to resolve that situation.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, though, it's still... Okay, that
Spell thief
tripped me up every single time. At the end of the day, though, it's Rogue Warriors drawing a line in the sand and saying, no, we are not going to give Mordekaiser access into this dragon at the level 6. They've done a great job getting Flawless to level 6. SMLZ and Kahlua have made sure that while they're extended, why we know that they're going to have the push advantage, constantly be chipping away at this double relic, they're not leaving themselves exposed to a gank. You can see MLXG is now walking through right now for Tri-Brush, but as soon as he steps around this corner, he will be spotted out.
He will, but already on top of Kahlua, he's been tagged with concussive blows. Needs 3 mortal attacks on that one. Flash out from Ming. Double Winter's Bite coming in on this one. MLXG trying to get towards him, but unfortunately cannot find purchase onto SMLZ. Kahlua with the body block.
The strength of the security blanket that they have placed down there protected them from the gank. It was a little bit of a late flash from SMLZ, so RNG did get something for their troubles down there, but it's going to be another rotation of a few minutes before they can try to capitalize on that.
And all of that play was coming out of MLXG, but that means he's able to force back the bottom lane, meaning you have to push out from Zatai and Ming, heading into the enemy jungle now, looking for a contest. Now, they're going to be here first. MLXG will be looking towards Flawless. He looks to challenge, but he's here too late for us.
And even scarier is the fact that now Zatai and Ming are going to feel really good pushing forward because SMLZ doesn't have access to his flash.
Cool.
Disaster.
Yeah.
Disaster.
We're all set up, right? We're all aligned, right? Nope. I'm on the wrong side of the wall. Maybe the right one, because Flawless is now under attack. He'll back off towards the tribe, but she's going to get the defense from Kahlua. We took a lot of damage from that one. Almost goes down to Zatai's ultimate.
The only saving grace right there is the fact that Doinby doesn't have teleport and instead has the cleanse. If Rise was in position, 100% RW, or we're going to look for the counter gank there. But as we were talking about, the fact that SMLZ lost purchase of his flash, and even though that they maybe fumbled their jungle execution up a little bit, they get control over the Dragon Pit. Mordekaiser now gets access into this, and things just got a whole lot harder for Rogue Warriors.
I mean, just the fact that you can be aggressive in the bottom side is really all that you need to happen. SMLZ pushing forward with that flash. Does have the dash right there, but great pillar coming out of MLXG. Going to be another knockup looking for the follow-through here. They know they have the dragon to tank, but in the end, it will just be another summoner burn right there.
And coming into this series, Pulse, you and I had a lot of questions about there's Abel on the roster. If RNG wanted to, held thought.
If RNG wanted to, they could get engaged upon by Flawless as he goes into the backline. And here's Mouse out for the top lane, coming in with the Maelstrom. Hits Ming, and I was waiting for that Typhoon to hit. I know where it is now. It's in the bottom lane right here. Zatai getting chased out by SMLZ. He's almost going to fall, but it's a dragon tanking for him. Best buddy you could possibly hope for, but 2 kills to Rogue Warriors.
And terrible cross-map communication from RNG. The fact that there was 0 response or follow-up for that. So good TP from Mouse, and suddenly the tempo, which was in RNG's back pocket, using the dragon, forcing forward, now bites them in the ass as Rogue Warriors just run it back at them.
Good stuff coming in from RNG right there. Or Rogue Warriors, I should say. Push in the mid lane. I was looking towards Xiao, who pushes in the wave. Going to be a teleport response into the mid lane from SMLZ. So we'll pick this one up. And Doinby and Mouse into this tower Zatai by himself. He has MXG behind and Xiao coming in from the mid lane. Actually going to stop the tower from falling right here.
Yeah, but so much attention now has to be provided from MLXG to protect this tower, because what, that's 120 HP from falling over. So no longer is MLXG able to unlock himself around the map, spend more time towards that top side. He needs to be focused entirely on bot if they choose that they're going to try to hold the line here. Now, good news bears, Letme has been spending all of his time alone with this tower, took it on a few dates, got it some flowers, they're going steady now, and he's going to take it down.
600 gold over to him. That feels very good for the old Darius in the top lane, already with that initial kill. Oh, stopping the recall there on Zatai. Jump over the wall, the knock up, the knock down. He is dead. SMLZ will get the kill.
And RNG have just resigned themselves. Like, you can have it. You pull in 5 members. It's fine. I didn't want it anyway. I didn't even like it.
5-man commit. Again, it's second turret to go down, so SMLZ, yes, there's a bit of gold in his back pocket, plus the kill onto Mordekaiser is nice, of course, but Letme getting in tempo, getting the tower, and now moving on to Shelly, much bigger deal for RNG.
I was expecting more of a slower pace series to start this one out. Again, we look back at this, I like the fact that in the tandem use of the Nocturne ultimate as well as the Rise ultimate, Rogue Warriors do this a lot. They have long-range engage tools. You think back to their Kled composition at Rift Rivals. They love to catch teams off guard because you just can't think about those gank pathing or those gank opportunities that they will often find. But this series feels so much like a sprint already. Like, we were just flying through the first 11 to 12 minutes and like grabbing tower, go for the rift out, skirmish here, gank here, contest this buff.
So why did you think it was going to be a not aggressive game? Because I looked at this and I'm like, RNG running a different roster without Uzi, double bruises, you got a Zatai in the bottom lane. I'm looking at Rogue Warriors. What's Rogue Warriors? We called them the sucker punch for a reason. So why did you think it was not going to be this action-packed?
Because they're actually quite slow teams comparatively to our top end. You look at JD Gaming, Edward Gaming, Invictus Gaming, and Suning. All of these teams are much faster than Rogue Warriors and RNG. Now, RNG sit a little bit closer to the top end in terms of bloodiness, first blood, things like this, first tower, but Rogue Warriors sit very far down the ladder and quite underneath the middle of the pack, and Rogue Warriors usually, they're more of a counter-ganking team, so I just thought it would be a bit more controlled, that we'd have steadier lane phases, maybe a couple of ganks, and then to get really messy around this mid-game.
That is definitely fair. I mean, we are firmly in mid-game now. We're actually changing up lane assignments to that point. Mid lane, Doinby still getting blasted by... he has to stop that, Zoe. That's really rude. Kalua walking into the bottom side of River. Going to place a ward down. Being spotted by MLXG and Xiaohu. Now, SMLZ needs to make it over this wall because Xiaohu's already connected onto him. Double dash over the wall. They're going to be fine with this one. And the bottom lane, actually, Mouse has evacuated the premises. He's like, well, there's a Darius in my lane. I don't really want to deal with him. But I can bring down my buddy Doinby, and then we can deal with the situation.
Letme is about to have a real bad time. More deep vision from Rogue Warriors. They've done such a fantastic job with how their vision game has been changing up over the course of the split to give them a lot of information so they can be an effective counter-ganking team. But again, we're looking for these windows, and we're just constantly trading tempo back and forth. Offense to defense, offense to defense. They see that they're bottom, they immediately pull the Rift Herald mid, and they're going to get a free tower.
Just doesn't stop. Going to get charged right here, and actually going to push in with this next minion wave. Nice Dustbringer there from Flawless. Going to be spell shielding the Drowsy, and Kalua's here as well, but the second charge comes through. That's going to be enough for RNG. They're going to back away today. I'm going to be fine with that one. But for now, though, in terms of gold, we're actually completely even. So if we're looking at tempo, I feel like we've resolved a lot now in the solo game. Most of that is now going to revolve around the mid lane, since the outer mid lane turret is down.
And it's also about what are the next steps for both these teams in terms of their win conditions. Now, we talked about how SMLZ, a lot of his stats really don't take off until mid-game. He likes to be isolated in these side lanes, and then that's when he usually picks up his big CS advantages or his big item breakpoints. And he does play a lot more ADCs than he does mages, although he's dabbled in both sides of the lines. What makes him such a great flexible player. But at this point, Rogue Warriors actually want to keep the map really split apart. They don't necessarily want to group up right now, whereas RNG have so much power that's going to be around the 35-second mark because the dragon will come up. Yep. They want to grab that dragon, they want to group up, and they just want to start forcing all of these skirmishes and all of these fights. So what you should see, Rogue Warriors either setting up defensive vision and then just kind of hit and run skirmishes around the map, and then RNG trying to force monster objectives and then group up as 5 around them.
Now, do you think it's going to be a problem for Rogue Warriors as we approach this mid-game in those team fights? Because you're talking about RNG aggressing, because you were talking about in Champion Select, now they have very much a bruiser composition. There's a lot of tanky members on this RNG roster. Look towards Rogue Warriors. Well, They can fly at you, flying V formation, but there's not really a tank on this team. It's just a lot of CC.
Again, it's about making quick hit-and-run picks. You need to almost instantaneously blast someone and then try to use your numbers advantage or just superior positioning. Now, I would like Rogue Warriors to stay split up a little bit more because I think that they need a couple more key items before they can start grouping up because this composition can 5v5 at some point. I just don't want it right now.
Yeah. Play more guerrilla warfare, find those picks, send them into objective. They're a little bit more cerebral. That being said, this is Rogue Warriors, and we typically see them as the 5 fingers that turn into a fist versus anything else, but they will move towards this dragon here, force it. Ming's pushing forward. Here comes the reinforcement from the top side. That's going to be a tag down onto Mouse. He's backing away from this one. Looks to turn it around though. Pops the Maelstrom, but he's already low. Goes into the zone. There's a nice knockup coming in for Kaloa, but they're both going to fall right here. Oh, what a snipe coming in from Zhao Hu. And now RNG are looking to sweep up the mess. Yes, they will. They'll find another kill into the Nocturne. Everyone, get out of here. Join me takes his own chopper back to SMLZ. 3 kills to RNG.
Yeah, that was never going to work, Rogue Warriors, and I don't know why you would try to draw the line over the Ocean Drake at all things. It's a huge swing in favor of RNG. You're starting to see that gold lead increase more so in their favor, even just inching, but at this point, they're strong right now. This Bruiser composition, they want to fight. They love all of kind of the free stats they get because they are Bruisers, because they are Juggernauts, and it's so easy for them to say, you have to fight us. Not only the pieces of the Zoe CC connect, but the power of the Trundle Pillar. They set it behind you, and it's just the garage door close on you. They just walk and grind you to pieces.
You're combining Trundle and Thunder, and I definitely agree with you. Trundle was definitely in this fight. MNXG just, look at that pillar positioning. Cannon walks in, it's like, I'm knocked up, and I guess I die.
And the fact of the matter is that Rogue Warriors don't have the damage and they don't have the resistances to compete with the Bruisers at this point. What they do have is superior mobility. Use the Rise ultimate, use the Nocturne ultimate. Try to find these picks when we still are relatively early on in the game and split up the map. Don't just 5-man funnel into certain death over an Ocean Dragon.
For us, this game is how I look at the Darius Irelia matchup. It's like the Mountain versus the Viper. That time, the Viper got caught, and he had a mind-blowing moment, and unfortunately Rogue Warriors got blasted. RNG, if they get on top of you, they're going to destroy you, and it's unfortunate it also happened over Dragon, because then you had Dragon Bro going over to Zatai. He used that to force out the mid lane. That's another talent over to RNG, and they're actually gaining pretty strong control over this mid game now. I
mean, it could just be the fact of a rock in a hard place, that you don't want to give free dragons over to a Mordekaiser, because it's like, okay, if we don't fight them over the Dragon Pit, they're just going to grab it and walk it into the mid lane, and we have to fight them eventually. But I just think Rogue Warriors are consistently falling into this trap where they only know how to play one type of style, and it is that counter gank kind of Bruiser sledgehammer style.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what composition they draft, they try to force that same style every single time. And it's like, no, you need to be more flexible. And that's why RNG are the best right now. It's that flexibility that the desk keeps talking about, that we keep echoing in CAS. They can play everything. They can draft 10 million ways back to Sunday.
And again, I bring up the analogy, circle peg, square hole. And what is this? This is a circle peg, and then trying to force it in with the sledgehammer. It's not working. And RNG will punish them every single time. Like, this is a composition that's been thought out. It's a little eclectic. Yes, there's a lot of things going on here, but it is working. You know how they're playing out these team fights. Everyone has their position to play, and they're executing it perfectly.
What I want to point out is that SMLZ has vision that Zoe is rotating down bottom. He probably suspects, because Flawless was so cautious about his positioning towards that blue buff, that they were taking the blue. And just stone cold killer sat at his tower by himself and continued to farm and push the wave back. I would just be thinking, they're going to dive me in a second.
See, the thing is when SMLZ does that, because this is different from like when I look at Mouse dying top lane, for example, I look at SMLZ, he barely ever dies in those situations. I struggle to think of a time where SMLZ has been pushing too far like a Mystic and be farming like up on a wave, whereas SMLZ, he'll do this with swagger, but he'll never die to it. And so often I look at SMLZ at the end of a game like this, and he'll just be X0X. He would never have died.
Has been probably the most consistent member for Rogue Warriors in their past few weeks.
Got me a Reds buff.
They also have Doinby as the escape route, which is why they're being so brazen right there, because they figure we can quickly dodge in and out of this situation with the Rise ultimate if things get hairy.
Yep. Get to the dropship, hop in, bring you guys to safety. And now Baron's about to spawn. You can see RNG actually pivoting around mid lane right now. I said rain because I looked at Mordekaiser and thought fire rain, but Zatai and Ming right here just going to be pushing this wave. You've got Zoe towards the top side. Doesn't have teleport, but will be able to rotate towards the Baron. And you've also got MLXG also just hovering around the area. Now I'm looking towards Rogue Warriors and their assignments as well. I'm going to be putting SMLZ and Chloe just catching the wave, but right now we're at more of a not stalemate, but I would say the calm before the storm.
And the most important pivot point for them to control is what you're talking about on screen with SMLZ and Kahlua being parked into the mid lane, because obviously it has the most control over the map. So we recognize the Baron has now spawned. There's another objective that we need to be conscientious of, especially against someone like a Zoe who has so much control and access around this pit from blue side in particular. So we just can never lose control over this mid lane, and I expect SMLZ and Kahlua will have to be seated there for a very long time since they have the best wave clear at the moment, or at least the best wave clear as well as the most safety since the hourglass changes to rise.
Yep. Yes, indeed. Now, if we're talking about Rogue Warriors, now we've been talking about it a lot this series, but I think now is a good time to talk about it in terms of the Rogue Warriors narrative. I'm just waiting for a second because that will definitely land, and that may be a go button for RNG to move on towards them. At least it's going to be a spell shield on a paddle star, so it's not going to be too bad. SMLZ is going to farm out this one. Uh-oh, this is actually really bad.
There's
Need
no
to block
pillar.
this one. No, there's nothing to defend him. Oh my god, Xiaohu, calm down. Delete SMLZ off the rift.
No pillar, no problem. They were able to just walk him down, and Xiaohu's looking for
again,
more.
Are you kidding me? Has to cleanse out of that one. This time, there was a way to get out of that sticky situation, but SMLZ, just as I was saying, bot side, he never dies to it. In the mid lane, gets hit by a random bubble.
To be fair, Xiaohu is probably one of the best Zoe players in the world. He makes sure that these key skill shots, especially at this point in the game, connect. And it feels like every time RNG have a Zoe, the game just gets snowballed so far out of control. They know exactly how to threaten and maximize the power out of this pick.
That's new Proskura talk, and it wasn't one player being bad, it was the other coming in with the outplay. 100% agree with you. Let me just in bot lane taking the town.
I don't know, I've been watching a lot of other regions, and their Zoes just don't connect the same skill shots sometimes.
We also have a lot of good Zoes in this league, to be fair. You got Zhao, you got your Gal. A lot of crispy Zoes. Oh, RNG moving towards the dragon, and this is going to be a third dragon in a row now over to RNG, and of course this is... I look at a Cloud Dragon, I'm like, it's Cloud Dragon. But Cloud Dragon, pretty high on the damage stats compared to the other dragons, and you've got a Mordecai the dragon. We're actually cooking for the fight right here. We can come with this suck up, and maybe we can find him right now. Oh no, we can't. Darius, ball to China shot, finds one, looking towards the target. He's kind of going back and forth. He doesn't know what he wants. He can kill anyone, and in the end kills no one. Gets a kill onto Mouse. That's going to be it for RNG plus the dragon.
That was immediately RNG running, or excuse me, Rogue Warriors running, and crap, mobs home, scatter.
Yep.
They immediately...
She's got an axe.
They immediately decided that was not going to be the team fight for them. Multiple people flashing back to safety over the wall, trying to find their escape, and RNG get what they came for. They were first on rotation of the dragon. They have the dragon. They're going to push up the mid lane. Multiple people then time their backs at the same time, so they're refreshing their vision dial, spending the gold on the items, and this is going to be now the dotting the I's and crossing the T's. We're setting up for Baron, and we're looking for the end.
Right now, Doinby is actually just dueling the dragon. Now, I don't know where his Pokemon Master is, but where is Mordekaiser? He's in base. What's going on right now? Why is the dragon fighting Doinby? Alright. And that's going to be that. Okay. Alright, let's take a look at this replay. And Rogue Warriors is just like, alright, now it's time just to fight.
I feel like this is a moment where Mouse was like, yes, this is exactly where, this is not where I want to be. I got him. I got all 5, guys.
Yeah, instant regret right there. That's what it looks like, folks. He's picked up his Zonius, he's also got his Morellonomicon, so he's on that 2-item spike, feeling good about life. Now, he might be caught by the mountain. Here's Let Me sitting in the brush. Crouching Tiger, hidden Darius. Where's the guillotine? Oh, no, it's fine. It's fine.
These minions are worth more than your life.
That might actually be true at this stage. MLXG pushing into
No, he's 2, 3, and 1. He is worth at least 2 cannons. Nice cannons, too.
I was doing the math in my head. I think you might be right there. Napkin math, quick maths. Anyway, RNG moving towards the mid lane once again. So Ty just rotating around this area because Baron is still an opportunity for the teams to go towards, which means that RNG, this time they can play towards the enemy side of the field.
And I'm frankly just really impressed with how RNG have played the first 24 minutes of this game. It felt like the last time we saw them against FPX, it was just, as Clement put it, oh, hold on.
Yeah, every time we talk about something different, this is someone getting engaged upon. This time it's Xiaohu caught off to the side. Well played there. That is what we want to see earlier onto this game, Rogue Warriors. Look for the picks, look for the snipes.
Caster Curse, I was just trying to give them a compliment. And you could see that Xiaohu understood that the threat of the Nocturne assassination was real. He immediately ducked into Fog of War as soon as he was done pushing the creep wave, but just wasn't accounting for some of the clever vision that Rogue Warriors had placed down to leave him open to a Nocturne paranoia.
Yep. So that's going to stall out RNG right now, plus a tower on the top side is going to be nice here from Rogue Warriors. Actually threatening around mid lane as well with Flawless right here, but doesn't have flash, has a smite, doesn't have ultimate, so he's not that scary in the grand scheme of things, though it's Mouse you've got to be looking out for. 2 items with the boot, has the flash, has the ultimate. Now, guys, you probably can see that we're having some technical difficulties with the stream right now. We're trying our best to try and resolve those issues as we go, and hopefully we can get back into this game as fast as possible. So 25 minutes in, and I really want to know what happens, because we're getting to a boiling point, and Baron's definitely on the menu for these two teams, so hold on, guys. We'll get the stream back.
I, for one, am very excited about our newest sponsor, PowerPoint.
That's the throwback right there. Thanks, Russ. But to talk about this game, because I was trying to talk about Rogue Warriors before, and then they just like, you know what? With Rogue Warriors, bam! Coming with the sucker punch, and they just fight a dragon for some reason. Didn't go well for them, because RNG just slapped them back at the face, gave them the backhand. But this is Rogue Warriors to a T. Like, if they're on the back foot, fight. If they're ahead, fight. If we have a pick composition, 5v5. Like, it doesn't make any sense, because again, like, circle, peg, square, hole, but they will keep doing it to a fault. And this catches a lot of teams off guard, but what's impressive to me right here is that RNG not falling for it, because it's RNG.
Well, they fell for it to an extent until Xiaohu got caught up.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. But up until that point, it was okay.
They didn't lose anything for it, and that's the big thing. Well, the compliment that I was about to pay for them before the Caster Curse came in, and hold on, Caster Curse 2.0? Nope, he dodged it.
It's probably
yeah, I mean, he missed,
4.0 at this point. Like, I've had some, you've had some.
Was that RNG are looking so much cleaner than they did against FPX. They feel like they really recognize what type of windows that they wanted to execute on. They gave a lot of power to MLXG. His pathing was super crisp and clean. He responded to the correct lanes, and it just feels like they got unlocked, and now they know exactly how they want to attack the map, and Rogue Warriors were just good enough to find kind of these small windows to punish an overextension like Xiaohu.
Is that Nocturne's laugh? Wow. Yeah, that really nice bubble there onto Kloa. Nocturne once again, he's locked onto Zoe. He's in very deep, but has the Guardian Angels. It's going to be Ming who's now caught an enemy land. Doimi is in very deep right now. It's going to be a knock-up onto the Trundle, but he's pretty tanky. He flashes away, gets a smite down onto Baron, buys a bit more time. He will finally fall. Here comes Mouse, looking for the Maelstrom. Dives right onto Xiaohu. Oh my god, 5-man apprehend. Can he convert though? That's going to be a Lucian kill. And here comes the Darius, comes in for the dunk, doesn't get the reset. Zatai backing away, and Rogue Warriors have found the fight they were looking for. 5-0!
And from the depths of hell, Rogue Warriors ride their way back into this game. What a crazy engage. I'd love to see the replay. It looked like Doinby came from the back of the pit, and not only that, but aggroed the Baron, so that as Rogue Warriors were making their escape back down the river, they drew the ire and the aggro from it, and it actually executed a couple of the members or got them down very low, but huge swing. Rogue Warriors now firmly back in this game.
Absolutely ridiculous stuff coming out there. I mean, from Rogue Warriors, you look at the individual level, well played, but they were scattered. They were not ready for that sucker punch, and again, it comes in strong.
And here's the thing, like we said, this team composition can 5v5, but it shouldn't have done it early. Now that they've got the key items, 3 items on Lucian, they're free to do it. So yes, Doinby uses the Rise ultimate, comes in through the Baron pit, and as you can see, the aggro of the Baron hits, and it's actually going to tap MLXG, forces him to smite to get health back, but ultimately he then falls down. And at this point, RNG are fighting a massive numbers disadvantage. They don't have any follow-up on Darius finding these massive apprehends, and they're just running into, again, the meat grinder.
I feel so bad for Let Me right there. Oh, we're going to get a Doinby reaction clip. That's what I'm talking about. I live for these. I was going to climactic. But we had Let Me right there because he looked for the execute, landed the ultimate, but on a Guardian Angel target, so he didn't get the resets coming out there. If he had landed that onto what looked like, I think it was a Nocturne who was low. There was someone who was low. If he'd landed it onto them, I think it may have actually been Mouse, he would have got the reset. Maybe takes 2 or 3 with him, and we're looking at a different scenario, but still Rogue Warriors with the Baron right here. This timeline was the right one, and they'll move into the bottom side of the map and take so much from this.
And what's so cool is the fact that it was Flawless and Doinby. So I was just going to say, yes, Rogue Warriors, they only play one style. It doesn't matter what type of composition, what type of costume you put them in. It's just about charge, run forward. But it's specifically between 2 members, Flawless and Doinby. Every single win moment you watch on Rogue Warriors, and every single loss moment, it's those 2 who are starting it, who are cheering, who are making that call. So you can see it right there in that team fight. You should always watch for it as they start setting up. When is Flawless going in? When is Doinby going in? Because those 2 are the triggers.
Pushing into the mid lane and to the bottom lane simultaneously. It's going to be Doinby actually on the rotate with Flawless in the jungle. He's actually gotten tagged, I assume, by a Zhao Hu, just random paddle star. But looks like he's on red buff right now. He smites it, looks for the red buff. We'll be able to get the regen. So we can move to mid lane or bot lane using that paranoia. But of course, Dormy is well with the realm warp. Makes it very easy for him to move towards the bottom side. Gotta be very careful. Ming gets tanked up by SMLZ.
At this point in the game, it's actually really hard for RNG to fight this, not only because if they lose, the Baron will just destroy their base and end the game, but that they're now a bruiser composition that's running into an AP Kennen who has the items to actually do a lot of damage.
Dipping and diving, Xiaohu looking for that perfect paddle start, the perfect bubble to connect onto a vital target. SMLZ and Mouse gaining momentum, pushing forwards, knowing that all of the key ultimates and abilities are down. Take out the ward as well, and we'll go back to base. That is an inhib cracked now off of that Baron. Bottom inhib at that sets themselves up for the future. Bit of future proofing. And Rogue Warrior is very happy with how that went because that is multiple towers and now almost a 5k gold swing in their favor.
RNG may have found some table scraps. Nope, just the flash. But while it is the Baron inhib that's gone down, and like you're saying, Rogue Warrior is trying to, wow, R&R.
Yeah,
that.
it's difficult.
Rogue Warriors trying to future-proof the rest of this game. There is the win condition of the Elder Dragon. We have multiple dragons. The Cloud is just about to spawn. As soon as that one goes down, the Elder will be ready to proc and spawn, and so I think that's kind of the holdout pattern now for RNG.
But this means a lot on the global scale because like Rogue Warriors come in, they get the swing, fantastic, and now you're looking for comebacks from RNG once again. But correct me if I'm wrong for us, but this looks like a really good composition when you're ahead, especially in Mordekaiser. As we hold that thought for a second, Dormy getting caught on the bottom side. MXG's found him along with Let Me. If he can get in range for the apprehend, this Rise is a dead man. Talk about a room prison for him. He's going to fall. That's going to be 600 gold over to that Zoe.
And back to your question, Pulse, is about identifying where your power points are for both compositions. It's really difficult for RNG to try to find, you know, a full front-to-back fight because they are looking at the Kennen. And again, having that short range because multiple of them are bruisers and running into a Kennen ultimate at this stage of the game is going to hurt. He's got enough items where he's going to do significant amounts of damage, and then the rest of his team can really kite around or control the front lines. What RNG are looking for is it's all about Xiaohu. It's all about Zoe. She needs to set up kind of the big windows that they decide, Yahtzee, we got you. So it's about playing fishing or going fishing for RNG, and it's about full, big 5v5, hungry hippos for Rogue Warriors.
It's just a tough, like, it's interesting because it's always turned Zoe into like the whole old like Thresh comps where it's like, well, we're waiting on a hook to land for us to initiate with our composition because right here, you're a Mordekaiser. Like, how are you going to get in range? You're a Darius. Like, unless you're sprinting in from a flank, it's going to be very difficult to get in range. And
it's also just about decisiveness. You know, you can't allow Xiaohu to get multiple pot shots off at your team. He's a good enough Zoe player that he could hard carry from a situation like this. And you better believe that RNG have the decisiveness that if they see that one hesitation, that one moment of weakness, that they will capitalize on it.
Rogue Warriors, I mean, they know what to do when ahead. I mean, they do the same thing when ahead and behind, to be fair. But when they're ahead, it's also very oppressive because they will just keep coming at you over and over again, look for opportunities to come in for a fight. Mouse is flanking, but so is Xiaohu. So who will actually get the better of the situation? Doesn't manage to land the skill shots onto Killua. He's got the fastest feet in the West. Well, I guess the East, to be fair. He's going to jump over the wall and be safe back to the team, but now it's about just going solid snake, getting to the main jungle, enemy jungle, putting down some advanced vision. It's a little bit awkward, but he's got Tommy just behind him, so he can jump towards him. That's going to be fine. Mouse on the bottom side, again, split pushing. But he's got to be very careful to not get hit by the Darius.
And what Rogue Warriors are trying to do right now is smother the map, get all of their waves pushing in. Dragon and Baron are both spawning at the same time. At this point, it's just the Cloud. Yeah, if you wanted to trade objectives, has to... Oh, wow, QSS.
Yeah, QSS.
At this point, you could give over the Cloud and just give them 4 dragons. Makes the Elder that much more terrifying, but I feel like they think double Baron is enough to end the game with.
Tell you what, Frost, Rogue Warriors just give me a heart attack every time I'm watching them, ahead or behind. I'm watching Doimi, like literally half a second away from getting caught around the corner. I look at Killua getting tagged by a random bubble, and I'm like, oh god, I hope you have QSS to cleanse. And then he's fine. Like, it's so many near misses, but it seems like Rogue Warriors have it down to a science almost, where it always works out for them. But it still puts me at the edge of my seat. In fact, I'm not even on my seat right now, I'm standing up.
Here comes the trap, and probably the game-deciding fight. Still feels like it could go either way.
Oh yeah. Neither of these teams are out of it. Mordekaiser 3 items. He hits like a truck if he gets on top of you. Same thing for Darius. Very easy for him to hit the maximum. Rogue Warriors will start off on this dragon. Again, another cloud, but more importantly, a denial from Zatai. Very, very important for them. So they'll pick that one up, and now they have double dragons, so faster rotations as well. Going to be even better for a competition like this, where they want to dip and dive, get into those situations. Baron has also spawned. Don't be controlling the waves. And really, RNG are playing PvE right now because they're having to protect top side. Bottom side is always going to be an issue. Lemmy's the one down there with the teleport. Oh! Instant rotate, the RW special. Join me right over to the Baron. This one's going to be have to stop by Ming and Zhao, pretty much, and MLX, she's getting involved. Here comes the teleport, but it is very, very late. MLX tries to get in range, but he's locked up! There is no defense on this one. His wingman, Ming, is going to be low, but it will be taken down by SMLZ as they look for the turn right now. They drop Braum. Here comes the ultimate. Oh my god, we're deep flawless. He drops down. He's in the 10 count. He's about to get drowsy. Here comes the Ty looking for the turnaround, but Mouse is there with the sun. He flashes after, gets the kill. But Chosen the Grave not going to be helping this time. Triple to Doinby, the 5-man ace, and Rogue Warriors are gunning it down mid.
And it's just perfect timing from Rogue Warriors. The fact that the bottom inhib has just now come back up, but it gave them enough time, it gave them enough space that they were able to utilize the Rise ultimate, reposition themselves onto the Baron, and are now walking it down the mid lane.
3 members left, but that's all they need. They have all the damage right here, right now with this minion wave. They take down double Nexus turrets, and the assassin, the rogue, has entered the throne room and are looking at their game 1 win.
And really just a massive sucker punch from Rogue Warriors. The fact that they found that single pick that turned into a massive teamfight victory for them at the foot of the Baron was really the game turning point. RNG, I don't think they know what the hell happened. They were in control for about 90% of that game, and then just one play.
And this is now match point. We're in this best of 3, and Rogue Warriors, one more game, and they potentially could sweep RNG right here. That was, yes, a comeback victory, but once they had the lead into this bruiser composition, they were never going to let it go. And Rogue Warriors, I mean, that was just their style, down to a T. We talk about styles in the LPL. Rogue Warriors will never bend, they will never break. They'll just do it over and over again, and eventually something will break, and this time it was RNG.
Do want to give credit back to the coaching staff. Coach Stake right there. I feel like Rogue Warriors, a lot of time when I look at their compositions, they feel a bit gimmicky, but I did like the priority over the Kennen, you know, giving away the Xayah, not getting the Xayah Rakan combo, instead grabbing hold of the Lucian, but the Kennen was just such a fundamental pick to denying a lot of what this bruiser composition wanted to do, because it was so dangerous late game for RNG to just run up on them, and then gave Rogue Warriors plenty of time to look for long-range picks with the Nocturne and the Rise ultimate.
I mean, the question really was more about how could they execute, right? Because you look at RW and then you have Mouse picking up, you know, not a tank, and you're like, oh, a bit iffy. And then you look at this whole composition, no tanks, and you look at Rogue Warriors and you're like, team fight style. Look for that spicy animal style in the mid game, right, and go for the 5v5. But while he still did that, they forced it with this composition. So it was scary for a long time, because that was like 3 or 4 back-to-back fights where it was just like, this isn't working, and it will continue not to work until it broke at the late game near that Baron.
And it's about asking those questions, you know, are you just defaulting to trust that Rogue Warriors understood that maybe it was a bad time to fight or not a suboptimal position to fight when they went for those early dragon fights, but they didn't just recognizing we cannot let RNG snowball off of just free dragon control with a Mordekaiser composition. Let's try to throw a spanner in the works, try to slow them down, because we know late game our composition can take over in this way.
Taking that game 1, and it could be 2 back-to-back series that RNG are going to lose here. We'll see if Rogue Warriors can do it. For now, though, we're going to send it back to the analyst desk.
You're definitely right, Pulse. Could definitely be 2 back-to-back series that RNG win. I mean, RNG lose, I should say. Raz.
You chose RNG. You can't just swap to Rogue Warriors out of nowhere.
I didn't see which one I chose. I
I
just
love
picked a bag of Doritos, and this one had Rogue Warriors on it. So looking good
Unbelievable.
so far. You predicted EDG last time around, was it?
Why are we talking about
But
that?
now
set?
you're predicting RNG to win, not Rogue Warriors. You want to change your mind, Raz? Are you okay?
Absolutely not. Look, there's not a single reasonable human being coming into this set who would expect the current MSI champions to be losing to Rogue Warriors. Not a single human being. You're not a human being. It's like,
What is Rusty?
I don't know what I am anymore. Apparently.
what are you?
I am still someone who predicted Rogue Warriors,
All
right?
right, that's
So
fair
I am
enough.
currently 1-0 up. I'll take that one in the Rusty book, so thank you very much. And, I mean, okay, to be fair, I don't think that Rogue Warriors were the most deserving of the victory through the early and middle stages of the game until we got to the 3-item spikes, where I thought they started to play really well. But there were still moments that were signature Rogue Warriors, and in the late game, if they ever get there, the reason I predicted Rogue Warriors is going to be SMLZ, and I think that still came true.
Yeah, especially since SMLZ with the Lucian pick that he had there. you'd always expect for him in the late game team fights, and you'd say you would try and counter that by saying Uzi would have the same skills. Obviously not going to happen. The AD carry is going to be in Rogue Warriors state. So felt like the late game team fights were almost guaranteed to Rogue Warriors.
Is that what it boiled down to? Because majority of the early game was in favor of RNG, and it was only that late game fight where Rogue Warriors actually able to turn it around and pretty much secure the game off the back of that.
I think that's what the draft boils down to, right? First and foremost, you've got a Lucian composition against the Mordekaiser Braum bottom lane, so you're always looking at Rogue Warriors saying, get late game and you'll have an advantage innately regardless. You don't have a Graves in the jungle for RNG this time. You're looking at a Trundle. So yes, that's a big, major part of it. But then to contrast on RNG's side, whilst Rogue Warriors are trying to get late game, RNG had the early game. They were breaking the enemy base very early on into the piece. Xiaohu getting Zoe, firstly, is a champion. You don't often say this, but he probably shouldn't get Zoe. The first time we saw him play it, it was nasty. In this game, he was absurdly good still on the pick, and that was freely given over to him. So whilst you're trying to get to late game, I think you're giving yourself added risks by giving your opponents the draft that they got.
Yeah, and I want to, just hitting on that point, look into our RNG's composition, because although you talked about the Zoe pick being exceptional for Xiaohu, one thing that I do not like is going to be the Mordekaiser. And although, unfortunately, due to technical difficulties, we're not going to be able to have the replays, there are 2 points in which the Mordekaiser was great and then it was awful. The one was forcing the enemy team to now respond to the Ocean Dragon.
Yep.
They didn't need to, but remember, if they get the Ocean Dragon, then they can just literally use the pet by moving towards lane after lane. That has real impact. The second unfortunate portion of it is when they actually led the first dragon to the bottom lane, which is incredibly telegraphed. You know what they're going to do with it. And so Rogue Warriors found their first ground in the game just based off of countering that with the TP play, putting all their chips towards the bottom lane and making their first team fight count.
And namely, not just the TP play, but Ryze coming down without teleport. And that's like a level 6 Ryze ultimate. That's not covering a lot of distance, but that's how aware they are of what the strategy is going to be once you get the dragon. The closest lane, the most accessible lane where the most vision control will be, always going to be on the bottom side. So that's where they went. That was where Rogue Warriors were able to capitalize on them and actually, stem the bleeding on what was starting to cascade against them rather wildly.
And then it was a Baron fight where SMLZ had a heroic play, and finally Rogue Warriors actually able to swing it completely in their favor. They pick up Baron off the back half of that team fight, and it really goes to show what SMLZ can do in the late game.
Yeah, I really love the fact that holistically, you want to be able to get SMLZ on the 2 to 3 iron power spike and have him go front to back. So seeing the frontliners being Doombi, and in this case, Mouse with his ultimate, really bought space for him so he can play out this terrain as well exceptionally.
Ooh. Yeah, and of course the Darius ultimate connecting on a Guardian Angel, so there was no resets there to assassinate Mouse. Maybe look towards resets and take out the entire team. And all smiles for Rogue Warriors except for SMLZ, but he is the MVP.
Look at him, he's absolutely elated with that performance. Smiling cheek to cheek.
Yeah, he is. Look at him. Look at that man.
That being said, he has a lot to feel proud of because he has been seen as second best next to Uzi. And now he has a real chance to be able to solidify him as the best before Uzi comes back. So I want to see what he can do consistently going into playoffs.
7 MVP performances for Mr. Roboto, but RNG Rogue Warriors still have one more game to win if they want to pick up this best of 3 series. We're going to go into a break. We'll be back with game 2 in just a bit.
登峰造极，方可声名远扬。侠盗勇士志在威震四方。